Why do Hollywood just keep spitting out sequels and remakes and reboots? Why are there no original films anymore? Well, the answer to that question is there are tons, I nearly said millions, there are tons of original films. There are more original films nowadays being created than at any point previous because of streaming platforms creating their own content. You just got to seek out these original films. In this video, I'm going to showcase an original film that I watched recently that I thoroughly enjoyed, so you can take this as a recommendation that I enjoyed the movie. Obviously, the title of this video kind of gives away the film that I'm going to talk about, so, you know, I can't be suspenseful on that. It is Rose Glass's Love Lies Bleeding, which came out here in the UK in May. I think it came out in the US previous, so it's probably out on video on demand or streaming somewhere. I've seen films similar to this, and by that I mean the feel of the film. So it reminded me, when I was watching it, of films like Killer Joe, of the Coen brothers' Blood Simple. If you've not seen either of those films, do check those out. And to a certain extent, it reminded me a little bit of the feel of the TV show Ozark, which is fantastic. If you've not seen Ozark, do check that out. Now, I don't mean the plot lines of those three things I mentioned are the same as Love Lies Bleeding. It's just the feel of a sort of remote community, kind of a remote community. Love Lies Bleeding was filmed in Albuquerque, so I'm presuming it was set in Albuquerque. Albuquerque is a place I've never been to, so I don't know if that's in fact what Albuquerque looks like. I've seen Breaking Bad, and so I guess to a certain extent, Love Lies Bleeding could also fit into that world. It stars Kristen Stewart as Lou. She is the manager, but not the owner, of a gymnasium. And she takes a shine to a new customer, Jackie, played by Katie O'Brien, who's been in some of the Marvel stuff, which I'm way behind on Marvel stuff, because, you know, I like original movies. She takes a shine to Jackie. Things get a little bit hot and heavy, and some of Lou's families, some of the relatives' troubles spills over into the relationship between Jackie and Lou, and things get out of control. You ever watch those films where somebody does something and then it kind of goes wrong? So what they try and do is they try and fix it, but in fact it makes it worse, and then they try and fix it again and it kind of gets a little bit worse, and it sort of spirals out of control. A little bit like Oliver Stone's U-Turn, but I think U-Turn is more weirdly stylish and just bonkers than Love Lies Bleeding. For the most, Love Lies Bleeding feels like a very reality-based film. Kristen Stewart, I think, is amazing. I think she's great. I'm putting the Twilight films to one side because the Twilight films I'm not a huge fan of. They weren't made for me, so I'm okay with that. But I've seen her in a lot of other films. David Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future, I thought she was really good in. And there's a film called Personal Shopper, which I think she's fantastic in, and that's just like that is another weirdly original film that on paper you go, really, how would that work? But it does work, so check out Personal Shopper if you can do. I think she's a really good actress, and that was the reason that I was sort of drawn to watch Love Lies Bleeding. It's like, I think the previous film I'd seen her do was the one with Cronenberg, Crimes of the Future. She makes interesting choices. Maybe for some people those choices don't always work, but for me, I like actors that sort of take a risk and go, I'm going to do something that's not fully commercial. Love Lies Bleeding, I think it should be commercial. I think it's a great little thriller, drama, slice of life type movie. The violence is harsh. I mean, it's not constant, but there are some scenes in there that will make you wince that I don't think I've seen before. I'm sure some horror fans probably have, but there's some violence in there. It's like, whoa. The sexual content is somewhat graphic for a mainstream film. So Love Lies Bleeding is not a film you go, hey kids, you like Twilight, let's sit down and watch Love Lies Bleeding. Not that sort of movie. It definitely deserves of its certificate. It's probably, I would guess it's probably an R in the US, I would probably say it's an 18 here in the UK. I haven't checked. If it's a 15, then they've definitely changed the criteria for 15 certificate movies over the years. The standout star for me is Katie though, as Jackie. She's really good. I haven't seen her in other stuff that sprung to mind, but straight off, she's a really interesting character. She plays it really, really well. And yes, I am a fan of Kristen Stewart. Kristen Stewart is doing what she does. But yeah, Katie was phenomenal. Ed Harris is also in this film. Very strange hair choice for Ed Harris. You can Google what he looks like in the film. He's got like, you know, well, Google it, have a look. I may even post a picture in this video around here if I choose to and I can find one. There's one scene in Love Lies Bleeding that's probably very divisive. It's a very strange, surreal scene at the near end of the film. Some people get mad with it. I watched the scene. It's not a gratuitous thing. It's just well, that's a weird choice to put in a film. Why is that scene there? It was that. For me, it wasn't enough to damage my love of the movie. It is enough to sort of make me keep the film out of my top 10 of the year, I think. I may rewatch Love Lies Bleeding and reevaluate that, but it's a very strange filmic choice to go into this reality-based film. It's a bit of a weird, trippy scene. If you see people talking about it, don't let that put you off watching the film. It's not like, oh no, that scene ruins the entire movie. It's a bit like if you have an album, you know, a music album with 20 tracks on it and one of them's not great. It doesn't ruin the whole album. It just sort of derails you for that one track. So don't let that put you off. But anybody who has seen the film, you know exactly which scene I'm talking about. It's like, huh? I kind of want to know why that scene's in there. It does have me curious. But Love Lies Bleeding is an original film. It runs for about 105 minutes. It's from the director of Saint Maud, which is a film I've not seen, but apparently that's pretty good. Should I watch Saint Maud? Let me know. Drop comments or whatever. And I would definitely check out Love Lies Bleeding.